Hello, this is Bill Harvell, fellow dying inmate in the mental asylum that is our world. We pray that this presentation helps mature and deepen our journey in the faith. The Gospel according to John, Jesus' power over the sea. John chapter 6, verses 1 through 15. After this, Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a multitude followed him, because they saw the signs he did on those who were sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Judeans, was at hand. Lifting up his eyes then, and seeing that a multitude was coming to him, Jesus said to Philip, "How are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?" This he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii would not buy enough bread for each of them to get a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they among so many?" Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he Eucharistesas, he distributed them to those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they had eaten their fill, he told his disciples, "Gather up the fragments, the tasklasmata left over, that nothing may be lost." So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves, left by those who had eaten. When the people saw the sign he had done, they said, "This is indeed the prophet who is to come into the dominant society Israel." Perceiving then that they were about to come and take him by force to make him king, Jesus withdrew again to the mountain by himself. John chapter 6, verse 16 to 21. When evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, got into a boat, and were trying to go across the sea to Capernaum. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. The sea rose because a strong wind was blowing. When they had rowed about 20 or 30 stadios, 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and drawing near to the boat. They were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I. Do not be afraid." Then they were glad to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the land to which they were going. Here again is the outline of the structure of the gospel. We can divide it into 5 parts. The gospel we call John. First part is the prologue. Everything the author wants to tell us is put into those first 18 verses of chapter 1, and everything that follows, nothing is new. It's all just rehash of the same, what you get in those first 18 verses. Second part would be the book of signs. We're there in section C, the feasts of the Judeans, from chapter 5, verse 1 to chapter 10, verse 42. The third part will be the book of glory. We'll get to that eventually come summertime. That's the final discourse of Jesus over dinner, farewell dinner, and the passion and death and post-resurrection accounts. But after the author died, the community, the Johannine Anti-Society, felt that it was necessary to write or craft an epilogue addressing this death of this charismatic figure. That's chapter 21. And the fifth part is the awkward, wonderful story, awkwardly shoehorned into the text. John chapter 7, verse 53 to chapter 8, verse 11, Jesus rescues a woman caught in adultery. It's a story completely foreign to the text. But there it will remain forever. In the 6th chapter of John, two wonder stories are placed back to back. The second wonder story, verses 16 through 21, follows and matches the shape of the multiplication of the loaves. Although this account is briefer, the same elements common to most Mediterranean wonder stories returns. A, verses 16 to 17. We set up the characters and the scene. B, verse 18. The problem of the storm gets reported. That's the crisis. C, verses 19 to 20. Jesus comes to the disciples across the stormy sea. D, verse 21. The aftermath of the wonder or resolution. The wonder story focuses on the Johannine Jesus coming to the disciples in a marvelous fashion, his making himself known to them, and their receiving him. Although the shape of this story matches the account of the wonder of the loaves and the fish, the action and the aftermath are not matched by the obtuseness of the disciples. Here they receive him. That's important. That's an important positive development on their journey with Jesus. The fact that the story of Jesus walking on the sea intervenes between the feeding of the 5,000 and the discourse on the bread of life, which we'll get to next week, leads many biblical scholars to think John has slavishly followed a source in which the two wonder stories were together. They also appear in this sequence in Mark. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.